Imagine this. You arrive at the airport hours early, your bags are packed, your hotel is booked, maybe your family is already waiting on the other side of the world. Then the screen changes. Canceled. Not delayed. Not moved to another gate. Not boarding soon. Just canceled. And in 2026, more travelers could be seeing that word. At first, it looks like a normal airport problem. Bad weather, a crew issue, a technical fault, maybe a strike somewhere in Europe. But the real story is much bigger than one airport, one airline, or one unlucky passenger. Because global aviation is being hit from several directions at once. Aircraft shortages, staff shortages, crowded airspace, expensive fuel, unstable oil markets, and a war involving the United States, Israel, and Iran that has turned one of the world's most important oil choke points into a global pressure point. So the question is no longer just, why was my flight canceled? The real question is, why could summer 2026 become one of the most chaotic travel seasons in years? To understand it, we need to start far away from the airport, not at the gate, not in the control tower, but in a narrow strip of water between Iran and Oman, the Strait of Hormuz. This is one of the most important waterways on Earth. It connects the Persian Gulf to the wider ocean, and through it flows a huge amount of the world's oil and gas. Oil from Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Kuwait, and the United Arab Emirates. Gas from Qatar. Energy that helps power factories, ships, trucks, cities, and aircraft. So when the war escalated and the Strait of Hormuz became unstable, the consequences did not stay in the Middle East. They spread into the global economy. And one of the industries most exposed to that shock is aviation, because airlines do not run on hope. They run on jet fuel. And jet fuel comes from oil. When oil becomes more expensive, flying becomes more expensive. When fuel becomes harder to secure, airline schedules become harder to protect. And when airlines cannot guarantee fuel at the right airport, at the right time, and at the right price, flights begin to get cut. That is why this war matters to ordinary travelers. Even if your flight is nowhere near Iran, even if you are flying from London to Spain, Oslo to Greece, Paris to Italy, Manchester to Turkey, or Amsterdam to New York, the shock can still reach you because modern aviation is global. A crisis in the Strait of Hormuz can push up oil prices. Higher oil prices can push up jet fuel prices. Higher fuel prices can make some routes less profitable. And when a route becomes too expensive to operate, airlines may reduce it, delay it, or cancel it completely. This is the hidden chain connecting a war in the Persian Gulf to a canceled holiday flight in Europe. And that is what makes summer 2026 so dangerous. Airlines are entering summer with very little room for error. Passenger demand has returned strongly since the pandemic. Airports are busy again, planes are full again, holiday routes are packed again. But the system behind all of that demand is still fragile. Airlines rebuilt their schedules faster than they rebuilt their resilience. So when summer demand rises, the system gets stretched. And when a stretched system gets hit by something unexpected, cancellations become much more likely. Aircraft availability is another problem. In aviation, one small issue can become a network problem very quickly. One aircraft might fly several routes in the same day. If it has a mechanical problem in the morning, it can affect every flight it was supposed to operate afterward. A morning cancellation in one country can become an evening cancellation in another. Then there is staffing. Even when airlines have enough staff on paper, they may not have enough reserve crews when disruption hits. If a flight is delayed too long, the crew can time out, meaning they are no longer legally allowed to operate the flight. That can turn a delay into a cancellation. This is why passengers hear vague explanations like operational reasons. That phrase sounds meaningless, but behind it can be a real chain reaction. No crew, no aircraft, no slot, no gate, no spare part, no fuel, or no legal way to operate the flight safely. But the biggest new pressure in 2026 is fuel. Jet fuel is one of the largest costs airlines face, and when war escalates around Iran and the Strait of Hormuz, oil markets react fast, because the world knows how important Hormuz is. This is not just another sea route. This is one of the main energy arteries of the planet. If it is closed, restricted, attacked, or even seriously threatened, global energy markets become nervous. And nervous energy markets mean higher prices. Higher prices mean airlines have to make hard decisions. They can increase ticket prices, add fuel surcharges, cut weaker routes, reduce flights, delay expansion, or cancel services that no longer make financial sense. That means a cancellation in summer 2026 may not be caused by one dramatic event on that specific day. It may be the result of weeks of pressure building inside the airline, fuel prices rising, insurance costs rising, aircraft being unavailable, crews being out of position, routes becoming less profitable. And then finally, the airline decides the flight is no longer worth operating. To the passenger, it looks sudden. To the airline, it may have been coming for weeks. The Strait of Hormuz also matters because it does not only affect price, it can affect supply. If tankers are delayed, rerouted, threatened, or blocked, fuel does not move around the world as smoothly as normal. And when fuel supply becomes uncertain, airlines and airports have to plan for scarcity. One thing is expensive fuel. Another thing is not having enough fuel in the right place. This is where the war stops being just a headline and becomes an operational problem. The system only needs to become uncertain. Oil traders become uncertain. Fuel suppliers become uncertain. Insurance companies become uncertain. Airlines become uncertain. And once uncertainty enters aviation, schedules become weaker. That is why summer 2026 is especially vulnerable. Summer is already the hardest time of year for airlines. More families travel, more tourists fly, more aircraft are scheduled, more airports are crowded, more storms disrupt airspace, more crews reach their legal limits, and there is less spare capacity to recover when something goes wrong. Now add the Iran war on top of that. Add the risk of oil price spikes, jet fuel shortages, longer flight paths, and higher costs. Suddenly, the summer travel system becomes much more fragile. This does not mean every flight will be canceled. Most flights will still operate. Most passengers will still reach their destination, but the risk of disruption becomes higher than people expect, and cancellations may not be evenly spread. Some airlines will handle the crisis better than others. Some airports will have more fuel security than others. Some routes will be protected because they are profitable and important. Others will be cut because they are weaker, seasonal, or too expensive to maintain. That is the brutal reality of modern aviation. The system is designed to be efficient, but efficiency often means there is very little backup. And when the world becomes unstable, backup is exactly what airlines need. So why are so many flights being canceled? Not because every airline is badly managed, not because every airport is failing, and not because every cancellation has the same cause. Flights are being canceled because global aviation is running close to its limits, and the Iran war has added a fuel crisis to a system that was already stretched. The industry recovered its passengers faster than it recovered its resilience. And now, just as summer demand is rising, one of the world's most important oil routes has become part of a major military and economic confrontation. That does not mean you should panic, but it does mean you should understand what is really happening. Because the cancellation on the screen at the airport may look like a local problem, but in 2026, it could be connected to something much larger. A war in the Middle East, a choke point in the Persian Gulf, a spike in oil prices, a shortage of jet fuel, and an aviation system with almost no room left to absorb the shock. The scary part is that none of this needs to become a total collapse to affect millions of people, and that is what makes summer 2026 so uncertain. The planes are full, the skies are crowded, the oil markets are nervous, the Strait of Hormuz is unstable, and airlines are being forced to make decisions in a world where one military escalation, one fuel shortage, one tanker delay, or one technical failure can ripple through the entire system. So the next time a flight is canceled, it may look like one airline's problem. But in 2026, it might actually be something much bigger. A warning sign that the global travel machine is running hotter than it can safely handle, and that a war thousands of kilometers away can still decide whether your plane ever takes off.